there is no portion of the Egyptian teachings possessed by the world which have been so closely guarded as the fragments of the Grand Hierophant Tehuti's teachings which have come down over thousands of years which have elapsed since the lifetime of its great founder, Tehuti, the scribe of the Netarot supreme beings, who dwelt in Old Tama-Re in the days when the present race of Hyksos or Canaanite, Hebrew/Greek were not yet grafted into existence, which took place only 6,000 years ago. Contemporary with Atum-Re, and, because the legends be true, an instructor of that venerable teacher Tehuti was, and is, the great central sun of all mystical orders, whose knowledge serves to remove the mystery of light as truth, when Supreme Being dwelled in darkness first, and then said, "Let there be light." Light blinds. It's an outside force. The countless teachings, which have been promulgated since his time. All the fundamental and basic teachings embedded in the esoteric teachings of every school is traced back to Tehuti. Even the most ancient teachings of India, Tibet, and Sumeria undoubtedly have their roots in the original Egyptian teachings without which there would be no Bible or Quran in existence. From the land of the Ganges many advanced occultists wandered to the land of Egypt, and sat at the feet of the master. All Greek masters as well went to Egypt to learn, and from him they obtained a very small portion of the truth, which explained and reconciled their divergent views, and thus the secret teacher was firmly established. Even your Moses and Jesus had their start in Egypt, and the great Moorish teachers of the West, Noble Drew Ali, and Dus Ali had their teachings out of Egypt. From other lands also came the learned ones, all of whom regarded Tehuti as the master of masters. The Grand Hierophant Tehuti, and his influence was so great that in spite of the many wanderings from the path on the part of the centuries of teachers in these different lands, there is still the secret teachings called Haka, his mystical teachings as found today with the ancient Egyptian order only, and correspondence which underlies the many and often quite divergent groups that use his holy names and taught by the occultists of these different lands today. The student of comparative religions will be able to perceive the influence of Haka, the teachings of Tehuti in every religion worthy of the name, now known to man as Mosesism, Christism, Mohammedism, Buddhism, Taoism and all others, whether it be a dead religion or one in full vigor in our own times with new names. There is always a certain correspondence in spite of the contradictory features, and the Tehuti teachings act as the great reconciler. The life work of Tehuti seems to have been in the direction of planting the great seed truth, right knowledge, right wisdom, and the right overstanding, producing sound, right, reasoning, Nuwapu, which will take you from behind the nine ball, which has grown and blossomed in so many strange forms, rather than to establish a school of philosophy which would dominate the world's thought. But, nevertheless, the original truths taught by him have been kept intact in their original purity by a few men and women in each age, who, refusing great numbers of half-developed students and followers, follow the Haka, Tehuti's secrets and reserve their facts, best kept secrets, best kept sacred for the few who are ready to comprehend and master it. From lip to ear the truth has been handed down among the few. Mum's the word, if you know what I mean. Remember, re equals again, member equals to be a part of a thing, group, movement, cause. You knew this information before, all of it. Let it be a part of your eternal self again. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause, everything happens according to law, chance is but a name for law not recognized, there are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. And law is, all things happen in the all. All is affected by things in the all. There is a cause for every effect, an effect from every cause. It explains that, everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happens, that there is no such thing as chance or luck, that while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Egyptians overstand the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect, to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane they become causers with effects, happening within itself. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, heredity, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like fish on the hook of life. But the masters, rising to the place above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become fishers of men instead of fish. They help to play the game of life, instead of being played and moved about by other wills and environment. They use the principle instead of being its tools. The masters obey the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. In this statement there is a condensed wealth of Egyptian knowledge. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. Again, there is no real gender except what appears in the physical realm and in the spiritual realm. You are not male or female, you are God. There is gender manifested in everything physical and nothing spiritual, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work, the need to separate to establish authority. This is true only on the physical plane, but not the mental nor even the spiritual planes. No soul or spirit has need of gender, for they do not reproduce or copulate. On the physical plane, the doctrine manifests as sex, on the higher planes it takes higher forms, but the doctrine is ever the same. No creation, physical is possible without this doctrine. An overstanding of its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of many. Yes, sex is of the light as is what it breeds, lust, rape, caused by gender. The doctrine of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything, and every person, contains the two elements or doctrines, or this great doctrine, within it, him or her. Every male thing has the female element also, every female contains also the male doctrine. If you would understand the doctrine of mental and creation, birth, growth, generation, and regeneration, you must understand and study this Egyptian doctrine. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this doctrine has no reference to the many base, pernicious and degrading lustful theories, teachings and practices, which are taught under fancy titles, and which are a prostitution of the great natural doctrine of gender. Such base revivals of the ancient infamous forms of phallicism tend to ruin flesh, body, and person, and the Egyptian has ever sounded the warning note against these degraded teachings which tend toward lust, licentiousness, and perversion of nature's doctrines. God, Theos had a child, Jesus by a woman, Mary. Allah is a he, but does not need a she. If you seek such teachings, you must go elsewhere, for them the ancient Egyptian order contains nothing for you along these lines. To the pure, all things are pure, to the base, all things are base. We must get in Pa Tekenu the obelisk as the symbol of gender control. How both male and female built them, and the pass down has the pillar in front of many temples, lodges, the minarets of mosques. All came from the doctrine of gender. Growth is a manifestation of size alternating from one point in time and space to another. Creation is a manifestation of beginning and on to a specific designated point is found in the seed of the thought that initiates the idea of creation. All forms of growth, creation are no more than a change in that which is apparent, in which either direction the onlooker perceives it. All things that exist on the physical plane were created and or created themselves out of pre-existing matter or energy. And the root reality of creation is that the very word in itself merely means to grow. As habits grow, thoughts grow, knowledge grows, illness grows, bacteria grow, the mind grows, but through information channeled from an etheric cord from the mental, the reservoir of intellect, and the source from which the mind is fed intellect. These are realities. Substantial realities, material realities. The universe is a phenomenon of life that grew into existence. Nothing in existence can decreate or degrow, or even decline from existing. They are here because they are supposed to be here, by virtue of the fact that they exist and are here. So also, the spark that you call the power of God responsible for creation grew in the darkness. Thus, your God or God concept is also a part of creation and growth, and without that principle or doctrine your God could not exist. Thus, your God is not merely the creator or a creator, but part of that, which is and was created and grew. These are the master keys that unravel the mystery of existence, as all manifest as the all, thus creation and birth. Everything appears to be breathing inward and outward. This appears to be the principle by which one acknowledges life, but in actuality, true life existed before the breath, or the necessity to breathe to exist. This doctrine teaches the breath of life. You don't merely breathe in and out. All the pores of your body breathe. Thoughts breathe, as mind changes from thought to idea to created thing, when the artist conceives a thought. To be put on the easel, the finished product is the exhale, the manifestation of an inner thought or breath, now into existence. Pulsation is breathing. But breathing is not the sole source of life, as monotheistic religions would have you believe that something breathed the breath of life into you and you became a living soul, missing that the being, be it God by whichever name they chose, had to exhale, and to accumulate the breath to exhale, must have inhaled previously, which puts supreme being under the law of inhaling to exhale. This principle of Egyptian doctrine revealed the simple fact of origin being indefinable, in terms of all, but definable in terms of the all. By the point where all has to be defined as the something. Thus, existence had to be defined as the God to give a sense of the only God responsible for creation, when in fact, that only God who breathed out the breath of life into your nostrils, in itself had to have been created, had an origin and grew, and as one accepts this God and begins to surrender their inquisitiveness in exchange for faith and belief, they have ceased to breathe, from all and merely breathe as a part of the all. Transformation, transmutation and transfiguration are realities. Be they mind, flesh, metals. The Egyptians were the original alchemists, astrologers, and psychologists, Tehuti having been the founder of these schools of thought. It was called Ha-Ka. From solar biology, astrology and modern astronomy has come. From alchemy has grown modern chemistry. From the mystic Wap priest has grown the modern psychology of the schools. But it must not be supposed that the ancients were ignorant of that which the modern schools suppose to be their exclusive and special property. The records engraved on the stones of ancient Egypt show conclusively that the ancients had a full comprehensive knowledge of solar biology, which gave birth to the zodiac and astrology, speculative, and astronomy, operative, the very building of Pa-Mara at the pyramid showing the connection between their design and the study of the stars, mainly Septet Sirius, and Sahu Orion. The Egyptians were master astronomers. They were not ignorant of chemistry. They in fact were the mothers and fathers of all learning. The fragments of the ancient writings show that they were the masters of chemical properties of things. In fact, the ancient facts regarding physics are being slowly verified by the latest discoveries of modern science, notably those relating to the constitution of matter, things the ancient Egyptians knew all along. So you have discoveries means discover, to uncover things already known. Now that the atom has been exposed to not be the smallest of all things in existence, they were not ignorant of the so-called modern discoveries in the working of the mind. On the contrary, the Egyptians were especially skilled in the science of the working of the mind, particularly in the branches that the modern schools ignore, but which, nevertheless, are being uncovered under the name of psychic science, paranormal, which is perplexing the psychologists of today, and the religious leaders, and making them reluctantly admit that there is something in it after all. The Egyptians had the secrets. The Europeans did not know anything, had no sciences or knowledge. They were blinded by their own white light. The truth is, that beneath the material chemistry, astronomy and the working of the mind, that is, the physical and mental workings of the brain action, the ancients possessed a knowledge of transcendental astronomy, operative, called astrology, speculative, of transcendental chemistry, called alchemy, of transcendental psychology, called mysticism. They possessed the inner knowledge as well as the outer knowledge, the latter alone being possessed by modern scientists. Among the many secret branches of knowledge possessed by the Egyptians, was that known as mental transmutation, which forms the subject matter of this degree. Transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals, into gold. The word transmutes means to change from one nature, form, or substance, into another, to transform. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions, into others. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry, if you like the term, a form of practical mysticism. But this means far more than appears on the surface. Transmutation, alchemy, or chemistry are on the mental plane, the fourth plane. The first being the physical, the second being the plane of force, the third the spiritual plane, and the fourth, the mental plane, is important enough in its effects, to be sure, and if the art stopped there it would still be one of the most important branches of study known to mortals. But this is only the beginning. Let us see why. The first of the 9 Tehuti doctrine is the doctrine of mentalism, the axiom of which is the all is mind. This is not true, for the mind is in the all and the all is in all, and the universe is mental, and the universe is in the all, which means that the underlying reality of the universe is mind. Mental and etheric cords connect each mortal to a mind, and the universe itself is physical and mental, that is, existing in the mind of Pa-Temptar, the all in two forms, physical and mental. We shall consider this doctrine in succeeding degrees, but let us see the effect of the doctrine if it be assumed to be true. If the universe is mind in its nature, is God or the grand architect of the universe Yahweh, Allah or Theos, then mental transmutation must be the art of changing the conditions of the universe, along the lines of matter, force and mind, solid, liquid, gas, person, places or things. The triad doctrines. So you see, therefore, the mental transmutation is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works, and about which they gave so few practical instructions. If all be mental, then the art which enables one to transmute mental conditions must render the master the controller of material conditions as well as those ordinarily called mental. As a matter of fact, none but advanced mental alchemists have been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions, such as the control of the elements of nature, that would make them a god or supreme being, the production or cessation of tempests, the production and cessation of earthquakes, rain, hail and other great physical phenomena. These beings were gods. But that such mortals have existed and do exist today, is a matter of earnest facts to all advanced occultists of all schools, which all came from Egypt. That Pa-Nebat, the masters exist, and have these powers, the best teachers assure their students, having had experiences which justify them in such realities and statements. These Netarot supreme beings do not make public exhibitions of their powers, but seek seclusion from the crowds of mortals as mortal living and acting as the normal, in order to better work their way along the path of attainment, and to bring others with them. We mention their existence, at this point, merely to call your attention to the fact that their power is entirely mental and operates along the lines of the higher mental transmutation, under the Egyptian doctrine of mentalism. The universe is mental and mental is in the all. But students of lesser degree than Pa-Netarot, the supreme beings, the initiates and teachers, are able to freely work along the mental plane, in mental transmutation. In fact, all that we call psychic phenomena, mental science, new thought phenomena, etc., operates along the same general lines, for there is but one doctrine involved, no matter by what name the phenomena be called. The student and practitioner of mental transmutation works among the mental plane, transmuting mental conditions, states, etc., into others, according to various formulas, more or less efficacious. The various treatments, affirmations, denials, etc., of the schools of mental science are but formulas, often quite perfect and scientific, of the Egyptian art. The majority of modern practitioners are quite ignorant compared to the ancient masters, for they lack the fundamental knowledge upon which the work is based. Not only may the mental states, etc., of oneself be changed or transmuted by the ancient Egyptian order methods, but also the states of others may be, and are, constantly transmuted in the same way, usually unconsciously, but often consciously by some overstanding the laws and doctrines, in cases where the people affected are not informed of the doctrine of self-protection. And more than this, as many students and practitioners of modern mental science know, every material condition depending upon the minds of other people may be changed or transmuted in accordance with the earnest will and treatments of people wanting to change conditions of life. The public are so generally informed regarding these things at present, that we do not deem it necessary to mention the same at length, our purpose at this point being merely to show the Egyptian doctrine and art underlying all of these various forms of practice, good and evil, for the force can be used in opposite directions according to the Egyptian doctrine of polarity.